Underwriting for the Money Doctor Show is provided by Ryan and Casey Liquors, Main Street, Greenfield. Exploring the world one glass at a time. Weld Communications, Marketing and Publicity. Helping businesses spread the word in the Pioneer Valley and beyond. www.weldwords.com.
There's a better life if I could be debt-free, but all my money is a mystery. I was feeling overwhelmed and it was wearing thin when I knocked on the door and heard the doctor's in. Oh, the doctor's in, the doctor's in. She got the right prescription to help you win. Oh, the doctor's in, the money doctor's in.
So that chestnut of the Irish repertoire, Danny Boy.
Welcome back to the Money Doctor Show. My guest today is Rosie Caine, harpist and all-around great performer. I call you a local treasure. I know you hate it when I do, but you are.
Thank you. That's very nice of you.
Local treasure.
I was about to refer to you as a national treasure.
Oh, no, hardly, hardly. When we were on break, we were talking about there's one date that all Irish children know. Will you tell us a little bit about that?
1014, the Battle of Clontarf, when the Vikings were turfed out of Dublin by Brian Boru, the last High King. And it's a very, very important date. And it just occurred to me this morning that, of course, it's 1,000 years since the Battle of Clontarf. And I recently visited Christ Church Cathedral, which was built in 1030.
Wow.
By Brian Boru's stepson. This is a little convoluted. So his wife, the one that organized the Orkney pirates to come and assassinate him, had a son by a Viking prince, Olaf. His name was Sitrick. So he collaborated with those two Orkney Island pirates on behalf of his mother to assassinate Brian Boru. And then, in a moment of great remorse, which was 1030, he built Christ Church Cathedral, which is a very important landmark in Dublin. And recently I travelled with the Amherst College Concert Choir, and we did a concert there
Oh,
It was really wonderful, right there in Christchurch Cathedral,
that's
in
amazing.
the centre of Dublin in June.
Great choir. Local
Great choir,
Great choir.
just world class, the best, the finest and best of America. I was so proud to travel with them. You know, they were just wonderful kids and world class choir.
What fun, what fun. We'll talk more about collaboration because I know you do a lot of that, but tell me a little bit about composing.
I didn't start to write music until I started to play the harp, so it's about 16 years in the making, my writing of music. And it started with the concept of picking 7 Irish women from literature and legend. And how that came about, my brothers and I own a portrait, the only one that exists, of Sarah Curran. She was the sweetheart of Robert Emmet, and he was a 1798 Protestant aristocrat who took up the nationalist cause.
Wow.
And he headed a very unsuccessful rebellion in Dublin, and he was hanged at age 25.
Oh my gosh.
And a great Irish story.
Sure,
and he made this very famous speech from the dock where he said, "Let no man write my epitaph until my country takes her place among the nations of the earth. And other times and other men do justice to my character."
Wow.
And so he was engaged to this beautiful romantic heroine, Sarah Curran. And somehow through inheritance, this portrait came to us. And my brother loaned it to the National Gallery, and a woman who wrote this book called Wild Irish Women. And the book came through the door, and the title just jumped up. And I thought, that's a show, and I'm going to start to write it right now, this day, today. And I picked out 7 characters, going back to Queen Maeve, pre-Celtic Queen Maeve, to the modern Veronica Guerin, who was a contemporary reporter and the first investigative reporter in Dublin, who was tracking down drug lords, and they killed her.
Oh gosh.
And
You're killing off everybody,
I'm killing off
Rosie.
everybody.
Yes.
I played famously by Kate Blanchett in the movie.
Oh, yes,
You know,
yes.
and with a perfect Irish accent. So I started to write the show, and I picked out Maud Gonne because, of course, she was the unrequited love of William Butler Yeats. And I chose 4 Yeats poems, and I put them to music.
Oh, nice. How long have you been singing? I mean, I know
I've
since
been-
you were a kid?
I've been singing forever, yeah.
Favorite composers or artists that have had some sort of influence on you?
Well, I love Irish traditional music, and I had a big exposure to that, and also those art songs that we talked about, the songs of Thomas Moore, the 19th century songs of Thomas Moore. They were performed a lot at the Castle entertainments. And so when I went to live in the west of Ireland, I was exposed to a Gaelic culture that didn't exist where I grew up in the east. It was a much more anglicised world. And then there was the beginning, the sort of awakenings of Irish traditional music, which of course in the interim has gone global. But the Clancy Brothers and Tommy Makem were popular, and out of that culture came all sorts of other young performers. But the tradition, I think, had been really held and kept for generations in the west of Ireland especially.
It's interesting that you talked about culture, because that was one of the things that was going through my head today is Irish culture. Of all the cultures out there, Irish culture has an impact on us here in America that other cultures don't quite seem to have. In fact, our cameraman, Mark Maloney, said that Ireland is the only country that has a musical instrument as their national symbol.
I never even thought to mention that, but that's absolutely right.
Isn't that interesting?
Yes, when
Yeah.
you get your letter from the IRS, it has a harp on it.
That's because the IRS is always harping on you about
Exactly,
taxes. That's why.
exactly.
That's a terrible pun.
Yes, and pulling strings.
Pulling strings,
Yes.
yes, yeah. But if you think about that, transitioning from Ireland here to the U.S., what do you think that we hold in our culture here as the U.S.? I mean, everybody's Irish on St. Patrick's Day. Green beer, green eggs and ham.
Yes.
But what is it that you think that draws that connection? Why are we so fond of our Irish culture?
Well, it's interesting in that it was very unfashionable to be Irish for a long time.
Right.
In fact, I went to the Irish Repertory Theatre in New York and took a picture of Help Wanted, No Irish Need Apply, that somebody had recreated and put over the bar at the Irish Repertory Theatre. And so I think because the Irish held on to their sense of self through their music and poetry, and because it has a kind of an infectious quality to it. The dance music is very infectious.
Yes.
You know, the songs, or some of the songs, are sentimental. I mean, it sort of covers the spectrum of that kind of category we were talking about that goes straight to the heart. But it's an excellent question why it is that we don't have more French music, or we don't have more Italian music in the mainstream. We certainly have Italian. Yeah, we have Italian opera.
Right, and they're both cultures that we like, but for some reason, everybody can be Irish.
Yes.
Yeah.
And everybody knows some Irish songs.
Yeah, everybody knows some Irish songs.
Yes.
That's true.
So this is a year that appears to be full of anniversaries. We just had the 1,000-year anniversary. Well, we have the 50th anniversary of the Beatles, and of course the Irish claim everybody. And they claim Lennon and McCartney as being historically Irish, and of course they came from Liverpool. But they just have that kind of timbre in the voice that is associated with Irish tenors. And when I was listening to the Grammy celebration of their 50th anniversary on the Ed Sullivan Show, the one young singer who seemed to be able to emulate Paul McCartney's voice was a young man called Ed Sheeran, who of course is Irish. Aren't we just awful? The way we're so darn self-congratulatory. So anyway, in honor of the Beatles, with whom I grew up, of course.
Is it more difficult to play by yourself than with a band? Would you prefer playing with bands?
Well, it's not that common for harp players to be in bands, but I really love it. I love the camaraderie of it. I was in a trio with 3 women. I worked with women for many, many years musically, and now I'm in a band with 4 men. And sometimes Katie Coleman joins us on her flute when she's back from Houston. And so we have cello, bass, guitar, and percussion. And I just love what happens when you're more than the sum of your parts. And I really enjoy playing in the band, which is called Trina Kayla.
Wait, tell us the band members' names.
Michael Morgan from Amherst, who is in the communications department at UMass, who has been a marvelous collaborator, and he really helps me with the arrangements for the pieces that I write. Jim Ferry, who's been with me forever, 15 years. They've all been in Ireland. They were in Ireland in 2004 for the first Wild Irish Women. He's a bass player. He is absolutely entrenched in his Donegal ancestry. We have Rob Terradon, who's a wonderful hand percussionist, and we have Robin Fouts, who is the cellist.
Nice, nice. I said that I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the other things you do because you're so versatile. We don't even have time to go into making jewelry and things, but NPR and other types of organizations that you're involved with, how do you find time to do it? What's your involvement with NPR? Do you want to talk about it a little bit?
Sure. I'm on the board, and I'm heading up the capital campaign for the new in Franklin County, which is a cipher of the effort that has been put in Hampden, Berkshire. Those counties have raised something like $9 million for the big new facility that's in Springfield.
Yep.
And so they're going to get out of their station, which
finally
in the winter has, leaking buckets.
Right.
It was built 50 years ago. It's wholly inadequate to the needs, of a modern station. Yeah. And where would we be without NPR? I just love the station, and I love what we can listen to every day. I completely rely on it for news and classical music.
Well, it's seldom that I mention another station like that. I just don't have reason to. But when we started doing this show, Chris Collins, our producer, was really headstrong about, I want to have time to tell a story. We live in radio sound bites now, and to have half an hour like this to talk to you about the story is what NPR gives us on a regular basis. And so we're grateful for that, and we try to do that here as well.
I didn't start it properly and I blew it. Yeah, blew it. It wasn't a lever moment. It was that I got the wrong sequence. I didn't play the beginning when I should have.
There's no problem to start again.
Okay. I have to do my pirate business again.
Distracting, or is it okay?
Not a bit, not a bit, yeah. I'd like to play a song that commemorates the end of the Irish monarchy and the death of Brian Boru, an assassination, a plot that was hatched by his ex-wife, who was a piece of work, Gormley, the last High Queen of Ireland. It was in 1014, which in Irish memory is really not that long, only 1,000 years. His son and his grandson were killed in the battle, and this is my memorial piece for Brian Boru.
So Rosie, aside from all of the things that you do, you play, you compose, you sing, you teach.
I do.
All right. And you belong to a group that has like 60 harpists. I had no
Yes.
idea there was such an interest in harp playing. Tell me about teaching.
Well, I love to teach, and I have some young pupils, and I've had some older students. And the population of harp players in the Valley really is comprised of, for the most part, adult, older women, and some younger students. And I feel, since I didn't have conservatory training to teach the harp, that my job is well done if I just pass on my own passion for it.
Yes.
And then I always tell them I'll send them to some more draconian teacher. Or as my friend Alice used to say when she would be sleeping upstairs on a Saturday morning, I was giving a lesson, and she came down the stairs one day and she said, "You'll get nowhere if you don't do your arpeggios and your scales." She won't tell you that, but I'm telling you. So I don't really hammer them with arpeggios and scales in the beginning, because what I really want to see with children is that they go to that harp, that it's sort of a magnetic force field for them, like it is for me. That when they come in, they just want to sit down and play their harp.
Right.
And then if they really want to embark on other sort of more highly flown disciplines, there are other teachers for that, but it isn't me.
It's funny, I played guitar for years when I was younger, and I used to say that you cleave to your instrument.
Yes.
You really, if you love it, that's what you
Yes.
really do.
Yes.
It clearly caught you.
Yes, it did. I feel very fortunate that it came into my life. I feel that every day. I feel great gratitude that I have it in my life.
Well, I'm happy for it. You played a Christmas party at my house one time.
Yes,
and
I did,
Everybody
Frances.
raved about it. Maybe again this year, we'll see.
Oh,
if we do
thank
that
you.
this
That
year.
was lovely. That
It
was lovely.
It was our
Yeah.
pleasure. So if people wanted to get in touch with you, how would they reach you?
Well, Rosie Caine at AOL.com, and I think I'm in the book. And my cell phone number is 522-3636.
There's a brave woman.
There it is.
Gives her cell phone number out. Rosie, thank you so much for
my
doing
pleasure.
this. It was always a pleasure.
My pleasure. Always a pleasure, Frances.
Thank
Thank you
you.
again.
Absolutely mine. Until our next chat, Rosie Caine and I will remind you to keep it positive.
Underwriting for the Money Doctor Show is provided by Dr. Glenn Brooks at the office of Glenn Brooks and Spa on the Green, 413-565-4400, drglennbrooks.com. Video Broadcast Services, complete marketing services for your business, 480-200-4222, videobroadcastservices.com. Richard Wiedegartner, LMT, Neuromuscular Massage Therapy. For pain relief, call 413-773-5775. rwmassagetherapy.com. Magic Wings Butterfly Conservatory. 4,000 butterflies flying year-round. 413-665-2805. magicwings.com.
There's a better life if I could be debt free. But oh, my money is a mystery. I was feeling overwhelmed and it was wearing thin when I knocked on the door and heard the doctor's in. Oh, the doctor's in, the doctor's in. She got the right prescription to help you win. Oh, the doctor's in, the money doctor's in.